Okay, so when you're combining like terms, one of the first things you need to do is recognize what is alike. Okay, so this first term has a 7 and it has x squared. So another like term with it would mean it would have to have an x squared term in with it as well. So we have here, we have our 7x squared and we have a 2x squared. So those two items would be alike. So I'm going to write those two off to the side, 7x squared plus 2x squared. Okay, I'm actually going to show you two different ways to do this. Okay, and then the second thing is now we're going to look at our next term, which is 3x. This is different because it doesn't have the exponent of 2 in it, so it's different than the x squared term. So for this one, we're going to be looking for another term that has x and it's raised to the first power is basically what it is, but we don't have anything written there. So we're going to look for another one of those. And we notice we have a -4. That one's already been used. Here we go. We have a negative. We want to make sure we take the sign with it. And -9x. So I'm going to add that over here. So I'm going to take the positive 3x minus 9x. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I have one more term here. We have a -4. And this has an x squared, so it's different. This has just a plain x, and it's different. But here we have a 1. So those two are alike. So I'm going to add those two to my lengthy sentence here. So then we have a -4. Make sure you always take your signs with you, plus 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these like terms, okay, that I've put together in my little expression here. So 7x squared plus 2x squared, all I have to add is the first, because these two are multiplied, 7 times x squared, 7 times x squared. This is 2 times x squared. The only thing we're going to actually be combining is the coefficient in the front. So that's the 7 and the 2. And the 7 and the 2 together is going to give me a 9. And then the x squared stays the same. We don't change that. Okay, then the next one I'm going to combine. We have a 3x minus 9x. My x is going to stay the same. 3 minus 9 is going to give me a -6. Okay, we'll talk about the signs about that one in a minute. I'm going to put parentheses around them because you have two signs together. Okay, and then here we have a -4 plus 1. That's going to give us a -3. Notice I did this one different than this one. You can rewrite this as 9x squared minus 6x minus 3, and you have the same exact answer. So they work out the same. Now let me show you another way I would have done this. Because for some people, writing it straight across like this is hard to see. It's hard to use the differentiation of your terms. So another way of doing this would be like this. I would take my first 3 different terms. So my 7x squared plus 3x minus 4 are my 3 terms, and they're very different from each other. Then I get to the 2x squared, and it's like one of those first 3 terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that 2x squared right underneath it. And then the next one, we have a -9x. I'm going to put that one under the like term that it is alike, and making sure to take my sign with me. And then I have my 1, which is just like the 4. So now I've lined up the like terms, and this is a method called stacking. And so if this method is confusing for you, maybe you would try stacking them in order to be able to see better what you're doing. So now all we'll have to do is just combine the 7 and the 2 to get 9x squared. 3 and minus 9 is going to give me a -6x because the x stays the same. Minus 4 plus 1 is going to give me a -3. Notice the answers are the same, but 2 different ways of doing it. That's how you would combine like terms.